Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to the third and final session for today and for this weekend. Trust you've had an amazing learning experience over this weekend for the past 5 sessions that we've held. Thank you for joining again. If you're joining for the first time, you're welcome. You're late to the party, but there's still we still have something in store for you. This is the last session for this weekend, and also next weekend will be the final weekend. We're going to have 6 sessions again next weekend, 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. So thank you for joining. If you're joining for the first time, welcome back. If you're a regular here, I'm sure you've had a great time so far. We welcome also our YouTube viewers. Thank you for joining. It's great having you all here to be part of this virtual HR conference. It's been an incredible journey so far. I want to thank you all for investing your time to learn on this platform. Right, so today we are going to be looking at this session. We're going to be looking at acquiring talents that fit. Our speaker for today is on standby. Her name is Bosumban Kode. We'll be bringing her up shortly after the introduction. This session has been pre-approved for 3 HR credits for those with any of the HRCI certifications towards the recertification of PHR, APHRI, PHRI, SPHR, SPHRI, GPHR, the whole suite of certifications. So if you hold any of those certifications, you can earn 3 HR credits from this. More details have been sent to your email in the welcome email, and we're also going to send more details after the program. Once again, thank you for joining. Welcome Adedoyin, Adeola, Adewumi, Felicia, Gina, Itsunoluwa, Utak, Onyade, Vitalis. You're all welcome. Thank you so much for joining. So quickly, while we expect more people to join, let's quickly introduce our speaker for this session. Thank you, Adeomi, for your feedback. He says, thank you for an amazing job, Jide. Well done. Thank you, we appreciate that. All right, let's meet Bosum Bankole. Okay, screen was freezing for a moment. Okay, Bosum Bankole is an HR practitioner with over 10 years experience practicing HR across retail, construction, telecoms, and communication industries. She holds a master's degree in business administration, a bachelor's degree in industrial relations. She also holds two certifications from HRCI, that's the GPHR Global Certification, that's Global Professional in Human Resources, and then the SPHRI, Senior Professional in Human Resources International Certifications. And she also holds the Canadian version, that's the Certified Human Resource Practitioner Certification. In the course of her experience, she has taken up positions in learning and development, performance management, and talent management. She is currently a senior consultant, talent and learning at Canadian Tire. So with a loud applause and a standing ovation and a tHRive welcome, let's welcome Bosum Bankole to this session. Thank you for joining.
Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm definitely very excited. I was wondering how the standing ovation was gonna go.
It's usually virtual, and then
oh, okay.
you just as though people are actually doing it.
Okay, so while I'm just gonna wait for you to give me the permission to share, and then we'll start. But I want to. Oh, thank you for the welcome. I see all that coming in. So generous of you guys. Thank you so much. I am very excited to be here, like I said. And it was exciting to hear Jide say all those things. But what he has not told you is that I have some generals who live in my house and are not paying rent. And I hope you don't hear their voices through this session. That's why I'm hiding away somewhere. But if you do, please pardon me. I hope they don't interrupt us as we go. Yes, so I hope you've been joining the sessions. I know the chat box is open, so I'm going to be looking out for that. I want us to, beyond all the lessons, I want us to interact. I want us to have fun. I want us to also share experiences, because I know as we go, you would also have one or two things that relates to some of the things that we'll be discussing. You'll have some experiences to share there, or you probably have something to say, yes, this is still trending, that's not. Just shoot away. I am going to be looking out for all of your comments and inviting you to interact with the learning and of course with the whole session. So once again, thank you for having me, and then we'll get started. Today, we'll be talking about acquiring talent that fits, and that's basically not just getting people into the system, but getting people in who can successfully merge with the roles and be successful within the business altogether, right? Okay. So talent management is very exciting. I don't know about you. I don't know if your role currently is within the talent management space, but one of the ways I introduce myself is I tell people I am one of the few people on earth who happen to be doing what they genuinely love. And I say that with all sense of um, all sense of sincerity. Like, I genuinely love being in the talent management space. And because I say that because I know it's an important part of the business. I know it's core to every business. And if you've been following the leadership conferences, you would know that one of the key challenges they express for the talent space is finding the right people. Everyone is concerned. Sometimes it's not so hard to have the strategy in place, to have those ingenious ideas in place, but the question on the heart of every business leader is, are we going to find the right people to run it? And every time they extend an offer to somebody, yes, they perceive of the fitness, but it's some form of risk, right? Because there's no guarantee as to how well that candidate will do, or if they will eventually be a perfect fit for the business. Okay. So yes, talent management is awesome. It's important to every business leader, and living out the business vision, achieving goals, executing strategies, they all depend on having the right people on the right job at the right time. I mean, all of that has to be in sync. We don't just want to have people with talents. We want to have people with talents who are on the job they prefer, on the job they love to do, and on that job at the best time frame in their life. Not just something for survival, but something they want to do and do for the long run. Now, how do we find the right people? How do we develop them? How do we keep them happy? And how do we make them stay? That is what talent management is all about. Like, that's a summary of the whole 9 yards. Like, how do we get the best people in, and how do we develop them? How do we keep them happy? And how do we make them stay? If we have all of these questions answered, then we've done a great and a successful job as talent management people. Okay, moving on. So this is an integrated talent management framework. And one of the first points I want to make here, a very important point that you should take back to your business, is the fact that the success of talent acquisition is entirely dependent on the success of talent management. Like, there's no talent acquisition does not operate in silo. Like you see in the charts, it starts with talent strategy and planning. Like, I'll give you an example. Every business has some expansion goals, or maybe some mergers and acquisition goals, or maybe they have some turnaround that's going to happen in the business in a year, a 5-year plan, and all that. One of the reasons HR gets invited to the table to be aware of all of these changes coming to being is that they expect that when you can also start to plan strategically for the talent that will be required to execute all those goals. So that's the beginning, the talent strategy and planning. What roles do we have now? What roles are we going to have? Who are the people we need? Do we need to have a succession plan? I'll give you an example. In one of the roles I had in the past, there was this very crucial, like very sensitive and crucial person we hired. Of course, the talent for that skill was scarce, and we eventually got the person on the role. But from the get-go, when we had the person on the role, the next thing was to have the person that will take over. If that person eventually leaves, we want to have a succession plan in place such that we don't have to go externally to look for the talent to fill in that position. So from the get-go, that's like talent planning. From the get-go, we had hired an assistant who's not just working with this person, but taking the initiatives to execute such that they develop the skills required. Should that crucial person leaves, we have a replacement internal. So all of that is like talent strategy, talent planning. And there's, of course, the general sourcing and recruitment. I'll talk more about those as we go. And then we have the performance management structure. Like, I mean, you don't just want to hire people who, I say this to businesses every day, people don't just want to come in and do a good job. They want to know that they've done a good job. If you agree with me, just give me like a 10 in the chat box. Like, are your people clamoring to know when they've done a good job? Like, I just want to know you're there. So give me a 10 in the chat box if you agree. Yeah, fantastic. I see those coming in. And I say that absolutely. I say that not just as someone in talent management, but also someone who's employed on a job. Like, I don't want to do well. I don't just want to do well on the go. I want to know that I am doing well. And that's the essence of performance management. How do we ensure that we have the right performance management structure in place? Not just saying, yes, these are high flyers, these are low flyers. I mean, how do we ensure we have the right cadre in place such that people within our business know that in relation to the culture we have, this is how we perceive performance, and this is how we measure performance within I like giving this example about performance management. The example of somebody who's an orange seller, who maybe in mile 12 or somewhere, they gave this guy a truckload of oranges, and then they said, here's a truckload of oranges, go sell these oranges. And then this guy worked so hard, washed the oranges individually. At the end of the day, peeled the oranges. They were looking so beautifully decorated, and the time was 6 p.m. and he's done so much work, but not one orange was sold. Was this person successful? No, that's a failure of performance management, because the person probably was told this is the deliverable, but had no understanding of what's the most important part of that deliverable, which is sales, right? So that's the essence of performance management. Because if you have a good talent come in and they don't, and I say for sure, like, there are managers whose skill set does not include being able to communicate the goals. I don't know if you remember one of those management technologies, management by objective, very crucial, because you want people to know they are shooting into the right goalpost. So some managers that do not objectively manage, they don't have the capability to communicate the expectations or to communicate the deadlines and the timing. So this candidate knows when they are supposed to deliver on what. So if that's not in place and you've got a good candidate, they'll be looking for a way out from the get-go. So it's not just about finding the right people, but bringing them in to ensure that when they are in, they have a place to stay. They have a sense of belonging, performance. The expectation of the business is constantly being communicated, and they are shooting for their goals, right? And there's the learning and development part, which is very, very crucial. I mean, there's always a learning gap for everyone. If you have someone on your team who's so comfortable with what they do, they've done it over and over, and they feel, well, there's really no more gap. That's redundancy telling you, that's redundancy staring you in the place. Like, they've done it so often, they become robots. They are not even open to innovations or open to new ways of doing things. That's redundancy staring you right in the face. So you want to watch out for that as well in the talent management process. So learning and development is crucial. What should they be learning? When should they be learning what they're learning? And of course, the owners also lie on the business to say, hey, these are the gaps we've identified, in line with the new goals that we've set for the business, also in line with our plan for the year and all of that. So all those are very, very important steps to take in the talent management process. I mentioned succession planning initially, just ensuring that everybody progresses along the way to be sure there's no vacant, once there's a vacant position, there's someone ready to take up that. And there's the leadership aspect, like, hey, what's the leader saying to the business? Do people have do they perceive a sense of transparency in total, especially in times like this? Like, employees are unsure, like, people are on the edge. They don't know where the career is going to go. They don't know what next is going to happen. So there's a role of leadership in there to communicate effectively from time to time, because they are not just people who are working. The job life is essentially a part of everyone's life. I mean, that we go to work every day. If we do a statistics, I'm sure we'll probably spend more time at work than we do anywhere else. And the consistency of that also means our work life is entirely a huge part of our life. So there's an important aspect of leadership in, of course, communicating the business idea, communicating the strategy, the goals, setting the plan, and of course, keeping everyone in the loop of what's changing and what's going to be new. Okay, and there's the final and also very important part, the compensation part. Are we getting them in? Are we paying them right? Do people have the freedom? I'll give you an example. Even in some businesses, right in the middle of the pandemic, people are asking, would we get bonuses? Like, would we get the annual profit sharing? Would we get, and everybody's like, really? Like, let's just be thankful we have jobs. But the truth is, people make plans ahead and they probably expect that the compensation of 2021 is supposed to take care of something in their lives and all. But and they're wondering what's going to be the effect of that. So yes, if there's going to be a slide in the compensation bit as a part of the time management process, it should be well communicated. And this is also saying that, do you want to lead? Do you want to lag in the markets with your compensation strategies? You just have to decide, because really compensation is far and wide. For some people it's in the money, for some people it's in the benefits, and for some people it's in the continuity of jobs. So compensation is far and wide, but you want to make sure that whoever you're bringing into your business, they have a broad and a good understanding of what your compensation strategy and structure is like and what that means for them, right? Because you want to be sure that if there's an advantage, everyone who you're bringing in knows. I'll give you an example of this in I don't know if it's going to be in the later side, but let me say it now so we don't forget. Like in the recruiting process, the compensation aspect is also very crucial. I mean, one of the most important part of concluding a recruitment process, because you're setting the tone for that person who's coming in. So you have to understand every benefit. So, and in fact, there's a strategy to delivering a compensation package as well. Not starting with the money, but of course, making them see what the benefit is, what it means to be in your business, what it means to work, and of course, itemizing all the advantages that role means for that particular candidate, even before you talk about what the eventual pay is going to be. And of course, there's the direct pay, the gross pay that the employee gets, and of course there's the cost to business. So those are two different factors. If you don't just tell them what they are and what they are going to get, you're discussing the cost to the business as well. Because in some cases, someone who's earning like a 60K may have like a 75,000 cost to business. So that's what the value of that role. If they don't know, they will think, oh, it's just a 60K. So that's, even communicating compensation is a strategy on its own in the talent acquisition process. Okay, do we have any questions so far? Any question, comments? Do you have anything to say about this? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Now, I like us to talk a bit about the recruiter's nightmare. I hear people say it all the time, that why do people do this recruiter's job? They wonder what exactly do they do there and all that. But maybe this will explore a little bit of challenges that or dilemmas that recruiters find themselves in from time to time. The first one is the hiring managers want perfect. It's like shopping for a house, right? Sometimes when you're shopping for a house, your idea of a new house is probably guided by your idea of the whole old house, or probably guided by your friend's house that you visited some time ago, or a couple of catalogs you checked, so many things. And the truth is, at the end of the day, you probably don't have a completely clear idea of what exactly you want. And the salesperson who's introducing the house to you is probably telling you, oh, this has this has that, to help you see the exciting features of the house better. That's sometimes what happens with hiring managers. Trust me, they want perfect, but sometimes you find out perfect is also probably a reflection of the candidate or the staff that used to be in that position initially, or sometimes perfect could be technical skills and all that. And so you find yourself sometimes in a situation where the hiring managers don't know exactly what they are looking out for in a candidate. And you would begin to see that when they communicate expectations. I'll give you an example. Someone wanted to hire a project manager position sometime, and I was directly responsible for the position. And we were having a chat about it. And I'm like, okay, what exactly do you want? And then he went, yes, it's a PM role, but the person needs to not just understand communication channels, but be able to build the communication channels. The person needs to be able to not just build communication channels, but able to develop communication content across different platforms. I'm like, okay. And then what part of the role is project man? He said, yes, well, there are projects, because all of those things are helping to communicate. I'm like, are you sure you're looking for a project manager or a communication manager? And then he said, no, basically it's the project manager. And I'm, okay, so what else? And then he says, well, the person should also have some financial skills to be able to, I'm like, okay, that just told me that this person does not know exactly what he's looking out for. And he has the perfect candidate idea, but the perfect is clustered, like it's everywhere. And that's some challenge for the person hiring for the role, because you don't know where exactly you are looking at the most, because all of those descriptions are proficiencies for different, I mean, there are different skill sets and proficiencies, but you want all of that in one candidate. It happens, but not all the time, right? So, and sometimes they want to measure the credibility of 10 years experience with a gut feeling as the weighing balance. Like they'll tell, you hear stuff like, when I meet the person, I'll know. I'm like, really? That's a huge list of bias somewhere. Like, how would you know? Your gut feeling is important, as of course, as a manager over time, even for recruiters. I mean, over time, of course, there's a science part of it when you're doing the selection, but there's the art part of it where over time you can tell from the vibes and all that, if this is going to be the right candidate you want to spend your time with or not, over time. But of course, you don't allow the art of the process to override the science of it. The science of it is why we must have interviews. We must do all that. So don't just allow them bring a gut feeling into the scenario, but they must be committed to go through the whole science of it. And the other part of talent is scarce, and the ones that are available are out of the budget range. Now, I want some examples in the chat. If in your hiring process you always have more than enough to pay, please give me a 10 in the chat. But I want to see at least people who have experiences of more than enough all the time. I haven't seen any so far. So everybody has a budget issue. Is that the right perspective? I don't think so. But then I know budget is a major aspect of the negotiation process. It's huge. I mean, it's huge. Talent is definitely scarce, especially for certain roles. And then when you find the very good ones, you find out that your negotiation skills is almost about the most important ones you bring on, the most important ones you bring on the table. So budget is always an issue, and that's a nightmare on its own, because you spend so much time, find people, and you find out you can't pay them. Now, we want the talent now, not later. This is another nightmare. Like hiring managers come to you and say, I want to hire somebody in the next 1 week. And you wonder, where were you 3 weeks ago? Where were you 4 months ago? And all that. We have a process in place. Can we follow the process? And you become like the enemy, even when you're supposed to be like the customer service person, resolving all the talent issues in your business. So that's an issue on its own. There's also the prejudice aspect. I mean, and that's huge. People tell you if it's a tech role, it can only be a guy. If it's a mechanical role, it can be a lady. You know, or if it's a customer service role, it's better a woman than a man. All of this are prejudice that hiring managers bring on the table or bring into the process, which of course is our responsibility as HR people to always have a process in place, and of course help our managers develop the skill that they need to be aware of their biases and to be able to live above those biases and make constructive decision in the hiring process. Okay, let's move on. Now, recruiters and the talent war. So like I said initially in the last slide, yes, it's a candidate-driven market, especially for tech talents. I mean, I don't know, of course, even in the Nigerian markets, I know for sure tech talents are scarce, especially for certain roles, maybe software development and of course, some key tech roles like that are usually scarce. And when you find people who are very good there, they sometimes come very expensive. Now, the definition of the best candidate also continues to change. I mean, what used to make a good candidate before is just the technical skills. But in the world, in the talent world today, you're not just looking for technical skills, you're looking for soft skills, you're looking for a culture fit, you're looking for people who can not just take the role you're hiring them for now, but who can still be valuable to your business 10 years down the line, moving across different roles. You're looking for not just, I'll give you an example. Before now, a business analyst used to be somebody who can just use Excel, right? But I mean, in the world of today, business analysts are programmers in some way. Like they can do more than just a VLOOKUP. They can code on Excel and do so many things to help the business process. But so that's also something that is changing rapidly, and it's something that you have at the back of your mind when you're hiring for a role, because you know you're not just hiring the person to do what they're hired to do. You're looking at the versatile skills that they bring on board and how much more they can get out of it. So it's not just about the professional qualifications, the range of work experience. All other factors come into play. I'll give you another example. Like you're not looking for somebody who you hire and then you start trying to figure out how they'll communicate effectively with the team. That's a soft skill issue, maybe, or if they understand priority, if they understand timeline development, and if they understand the importance of execution. All of those things are probably soft skills. It doesn't mean that these people are not technically sound, but so you are the best candidate definition. The whole essence of this is having it at the back of your mind that the best candidate definition is totally changing, because you're looking at versatility, and it's very important. I also use myself as an example. Coming into my current organization, I came in basically for a talent acquisition role, which is what I did effectively for a while. But in a very short while, I was moving into learning experience. Learning experience is about L&D as we know it to be, but then sometimes it also involves designs, it involves so many things. But of course, when they were hiring me for a TA role, maybe they saw potential to say, oh, okay, this person can also grow, that's can also grow into several other positions, can do more. So multiple skill sets is so important right now, not necessarily just saying, oh, this person is being hired to be a BA and that's all they do. No, they need to have multiple skills, and you need to have that at the back of your mind when you're hiring for positions. And also, top candidates remain in high demand. As they remain in high demand, candidate expectations continue to change. You know, gone are the days where people tell you they are coming into the business because they figured that your position pays higher, and it's because of that. People want more than money. There's the candidate experience. And I'm telling you all this from things that, I mean, somebody has turned down a position before because of the experience they had. Case in point, this guy came in. Of course, it was a tech role. He came in for the interview. I was in the process, but of the hiring manager for that position is how do I say, a little bit of old school. He expected that when you're coming in for an interview, you're supposed to wear a suit and all that. But because the guy was a tech guy, he was looking so decently, how do I put it now, office casual, so to say. Like he was wearing a denim, he was wearing a shirt, tucked in shirt, and he was wearing a jacket that was not your normal corporate jacket, but it was looking so neat and tidy. highly experienced, came in, sat for the interview, and the first question the hiring manager was asking is, did you come all the way for this interview dressed like this? And the guy said yes. And then he said, weren't you supposed to dress corporately for this role? And the guy said, oh, you find what I wear offensive? And the guy said, well, he just expected more, because as the hiring manager now saying, he expected more because that was supposed to be an interview. And the guy said, oh, if that's your perception, then I can't work for you. And he stood up and left. That's candidate experience. Like, people are not just, they're not that desperate. Like, they're not that, especially those with top-notch skills. Like, and the guy said, I got back to him apologizing for his experience, and was like, oh, no, it's not about you, but it says a lot about the culture of your business. Like, you haven't met me, you haven't gotten to know who I am, and you have a perception as to what I look like. That, no, that's not the place he wants to be. So candidate experience is so key when people want to come into a place. So there's also internal to a place to work. There's also internal mobility. Like, from the get-go, people are asking, what's the journey for this position like what can I grow into, what other things can I do within the business? And they are doing that in view of their personal goals and career plans, because nobody wants to come into your place and be stuck for another 2 years, because they don't want to sound like they're hoppers. They want to know what's at stake. So as somebody who's bringing in a talent, you need to have answers for this question. Like, have answers for this question. If before you start engaging candidates, you need to have answers, because people are not just, they don't just want to sit in fancy offices. They want to know what's obtainable for them. What more can they get from your business? There's also that there's diversity and inclusion, and that's key right now. That's totally key. Like, you get people asking questions about your policies for diversity and inclusion. They ask you questions about your strategy for diversity and inclusion, and what sense of appreciation you have for that as a business. So you need to have answers for those, because people are concerned now. They don't want to work into, it was okay before to feel, I'll give you an example. I went for um, an event. Sometimes it was supposed to be a leaders event sometime, and I was the only Black person. I mean, even the servers at the events were looking at me funny. In fact, when I came in, they weren't sure what room to lead me to, because I was Black and every other person was not. No, now, people don't want to keep quiet about those experiences anymore. They want to be sure that when they come into your organization to work, that you are not unconscious, right? You're not unconscious about the reality of diversity, and that you are openly, you accept it openly. You have a policy in place as regards everybody having a sense of acceptance within your business. There's also the company mission and vision. I mean, I have had a chat with someone before, and it was really a chat, just connecting to have an idea of what this person is looking out for, and if we have some. And he was talking to me about the earnings per share of the business. He was telling me how our business did in comparison to our competitors. And he was asking me, well, what I know about the company's plans to increase the EPS. All of that. I was like, oh, this is interesting. But really, people want to know. They want to know if the company they are working for is doing well. And they have questions about what places the financial status of your business is failing at, and they have questions as to what you're doing to fix that. Because sometimes people want to work with a leading firm. For instance, in the retail industry, you hear people saying, I want to work for the leading retail industry. You need to have answers as to where you are leading. You may not be, of course, you may not be leading in every front, but you are leading in some places, and you want to have answers. Because I mean, every conversation you have with a potential hire is a sales pitch on its own. It's a sales pitch, because you're not just getting people in, you're selling your organization to the best people. So you need to have answers to those things. And another interesting one is people want to work with organizations that are environmentally compliant. people, they want to know what your green policies are, how do you, what's your recycle policies. I mean, and this is not a joke. It's not a joke. There was a time in my in our organization where we had a paperless policy across board. From, I mean, even for, what do you call it, for recyclable mugs and all, everybody was given a beautiful mug designed by the business, and bottles, and everybody, no disposables, nothing. And that was a green policy. It's something we speak so proudly about, because we're saying we're environmentally conscious and environmentally compliant as a business, because some of these are things that candidates are looking out for. If it aligns with their values, if it aligns with their goals, they want to work in businesses or with organizations who has some form of compliance to the things they also believe in. So all of that are factors to keep in mind when you're trying to win the talent war, and when you're trying to get the best talents into your business. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. So what are organizations doing to win the war of talents, aside all that we've talking about? So I have a comment from Adil. I'm just going to read that. A lot of times it seems as if TA specialists or recruiters are looking for the perfect candidates. And just as we know, there's no perfect candidates. And as long as they have the key skill set, a culture fit plus potential to grow, shouldn't that be enough? So if this dilemma is something that's caused by the hiring managers themselves, how then can people in TA or recruitment resolve this cost? It looks like we are just losing talents in the already scarce market. Oh, this is a valid point. I mean, a valid point. It's something I hope to address as we go, as to what can the TA people do to ensure that we mitigate all these frictions and that we don't continue to lose talents on all fronts. I hope I'll still talk about it as we go, but this is definitely a valid point. Okay, so what are organizations doing to win the war of talent? Of course, building in strong internal talent pipelines alongside external pipelines. I'll give you an example. One of the organizations I worked for in the past, there was a time we needed an accountant in the business, and we were going to go to the market to hire someone. And we were like, okay, before we do that, why don't we run a check? Yes, I agree, Obaseki. Like, yeah, the perfect candidate is a myth. It's a myth in some cases and will remain so. But then I would say, just before I move on, let me just address that. As much as we say a perfect candidate is a myth, you must bear in mind also every hiring decision is a risk, and you must do all that you can to mitigate that risk from the get-go. And what are the things? That's where the science of the thing comes in, to ensure that you have the skill sets defined, and what are transferable skills that you need, what are key skills that this person must have. For instance, you don't overemphasize on a soft skill when the person needs a technical skill to do the job effectively. So I'll give you an example. You want somebody to start on a job and keep the ball rolling from the get-go. They need to have certain skills in place. Some things you can pass on, some things you cannot. For instance, from the point you were having interviews, this person has some egocentric responses. They have no sense of commitment in any of the roles they've had before. You may not want to pass on those things. So it's basically defining what are must-haves, what are can't stands, like, and what are transferable skills, and what are things that you definitely can't say no to. So all of that must be in place. Either you are using the perfect word or not. Those are very important things that must be in place. So back to the slides. So yes, building strong internal talent pipelines alongside external pipelines. Yes, I was sharing the story of this time when we were trying to hire an accountant. And just before we went out, we decided to just do like a poll, just a census of the certifications we have internally, and just a census of what skills our current people have. And then we found out that the head of customer service was a chartered accountant in the business. I mean, that was a shocking revelation. Shocking. The guy was right there, right under our nose, doing customer service jobs when he definitely had the capability to take on a financial. So it was just great to do that. And why do companies do that? One, it communicates a sense. So I saw that question from the anonymous. So move the questions to the Q&A. And as soon as we're done with the slides, I'll just go into this Q&A box and start to provide all the answers. That way we can still get through the slides in the time that we have. Okay. So why do organizations do that? Why do they go for the internal candidates first? Because at the beginning of your communication with the candidates, one of the things that you have said is that your business gives an opportunity for people to grow, that people have progression possibilities when they come in. So you want to look out for them to say, when an opportunity opens up, we want to see our internal candidates first. Secondly, internal candidates will always be cheaper than external candidates in most cases. Well, not all, but in most cases, they may be cheaper than external candidates because you can only increase somebody's salary by certain percentages. So if they're already internal and on a skill, it may only cost you a few extra $1,000 and the person is happy and you're happy. And people sometimes don't want to leave the organizations. They love being in the organization, but they want their growth. So they are grateful. External candidate gives that. And so the other advantage is they are already merged with the culture. They don't have to relearn the culture or relearn the processes because they are internal people already. The onboarding is easier and they settle in the role more quickly and a lot faster than somebody whom you're bringing in from the external markets, right? And another thing people do is give referral bonuses. That's using your internal candidates as your marketers for the role. So what organizations do is for scarce talents, they tell people within the business, if you refer somebody for this role and this person eventually gets hired, you get a certain bonus. And people do it all the time. So for a recruiter, sometimes you find yourself going into the referral cadres of your HRIS because in those places people have referred people that are competent, and that may cut your journey short, right? Okay, the other thing people do is the comprehensive and total reward packages. So people are not just given health and benefits, mental medical and dental benefits. I mean, they're expanding the benefits stratum. I'll give you an example. You've hired somebody who's single, who doesn't have a family, but who's on the same level as somebody who has a family of 4, and they have the same medical budget. This person who has who's not married has bigger money to spend, but so you need to give them more opportunities to spend that money. So some companies do flex benefits to say that yes, if you cannot exhaust your medical benefits, you can do more things like go for a spa, get orthodontic services, all of those things. Just make it flex so they have options within the bouquet of benefits that you have, and that's an advantage. Just making it more comprehensive. I mean, funny and interesting stuff. Companies give fitness benefits, like they pay for gym for 1 year. They have certain budgets for fitness, like they have certain budgets for certain budgets for vacation, certain budgets for learning. I mean, organizations do that all the time. Like if you develop yourself, you take up this course, we'll pay for it. All of that are compensation benefits and these are things people use to win the war of talents, because they want to attract the best talents with the best benefit packages. And if there's flex arrangements, I mean, it sounds like music to my ears. I was speaking to somebody over the weekend and I was saying, are you still working from home? And she said, well, for her, she's always worked from home. She only works in once in 2 weeks. So I'm like, oh, that's impressive. So people want flex work environments. I don't want to work 9 to 5. I want to work maybe 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. or I want to work from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. They want flex work environments. I want to work for 2 days internally and then work from home for 3. all of these are interesting things that people do. Or I don't want to come to the head office, I want to go to the one just by my house. Flex work environments. I mean, focus is now shifting from a connect time to actually delivering results. And as long as results is being delivered, whatever form works for you, just do you. And those are things organizations do to attract talents as well. Yeah, technology solutions, more and more investment is going into technology, and you continue to see them. Like SAP used to be like the king of the market. Now you have Workday, aside Workday, there's Montage, there's all sorts of technology in the market right now, and companies are investing more and more because there's a lot of challenge in the hiring process. I mean, all those bottleneck of spending endless time with candidates, they're trying to reduce those time and make the processes faster. Another thing with technology is the application processes. I mean, I have seen portals where it takes 2 minutes to apply for a job. Just put up the resume automatically populates everything else, and PAM, application completed. You get automations immediately telling you this is what to do, this is what's missing. That's just brilliant. It increases the candidate experience. It makes your processes more efficient, and all. It's just exciting. I mean, not these days that people, I hope no organization still does that they expect you to show up physically with a resume in an interview and just making the world polluted with paper everywhere. I mean, the world is totally changing. Everything is virtual online. Less cumbersome, please. The more chaotic the process, the less successful a business is at creating the best candidate experience. And there's employer brand. If you don't have somebody in your business who's dedicated to employer branding, then encourage people in your in TA roles to develop employer brand. This is important. I have seen reports where they don't just tell you how your competitors are doing online better than you. I mean, the report tells you who moved from your company and where did they go to. How many? So you can see on a spreadsheet just who's taking your people and why. And that could also give you an insight into your compensation packages or why people are leaving and all. And your company is no longer just the name on a big building. I mean, it is employer brand. And I kid you not, when people who work in certain organizations introduce themselves, there's a bit of voice because of the branding. So you need to work on the brand of your business, and it's entirely not out of the forte of talent management, because you're constantly interacting with people who have I'll give you one funny example. When I recently graduated from college, I saw an ad in Nigeria. Actually, I saw an ad advertising the shares of a company. And because the advert was so compelling, so nice and beautiful, I practically told everyone that that's where I want to work. Just by that. And it's entirely a game of brand. Everybody brand online. Don't assume that your LinkedIn page, your landing page on LinkedIn as a business is just something that is there. No, people, I mean, between you and I, you saw a job you want to apply to. What do? First thing, you go to Google and put in the brand, the company name. Whatever comes up informs you. And of course, in more developed environments, everything is transparent. I mean, there are organizations whose dedication is on collecting data about businesses, data of employee experiences. So you hear them scoring, and they'll tell you, oh, this company is a 4-star because people who have worked there said that. I mean, it's a game of what they said. So you have to focus on the brand of the business, because it determines who wants to work to you, work with you or not, because the perception of your brand has a role to play in all of that. And of course, customize processes for talent segments to effectively and frequently reach different, like there's no one size fit all approach to hiring people, there's always a cluster of talents in certain places. So find the cluster. I was trying to hire what do you call a UX designer sometime. That's a user experience designer sometime. And I had no idea, like we've done ads severally. I had no idea where those talents could be. But then I started researching about UX designs, just designs. And then I found clusters. I found platforms where people go to display their designs for other designers to critique what they've done. And that was it, like a gold mine. I just went, joined the platform, started reaching out to people, and that's how we got the person to hire. So those are very important things to note, that your talents do not, like, it's LinkedIn does not work for every role. There are certain roles that Twitter will solve your problem. It's so you can't just be a specialist in one platform and say for every role we're hiring for, we go to LinkedIn. You have to be aware of all the tools. And these are things that organizations do. They don't just put all their eggs in one basket. They explore, like, you don't assume that you don't need a presence. In our place, the platforms are different, but you don't just assume that you only need a presence on LinkedIn. You need to spread your exposure depending on the number of people on those platforms as well. I see those questions. Thank you. Keep them coming in. I'm going to look at all of them when we round up, and then we'll tackle them together. Okay, but I see them coming in. Now, in your organization, what can you do to win? I spoke about what organizations are doing. What can you do to win? And this should answer Adedoyin's question earlier about solving the myths of a perfect talent. And all of that starts with an intake meeting. An intake meeting is the meeting you have with the hiring manager to iron out what the expectation is for the role, just before you even start having discussions at all. You want to sit down with this person to say, and people form busy and say, don't ever rush an intake meeting. Make it the most relaxed time. Yes, maybe a 30 minutes, because nobody has 1 hour to spare. A 30 minutes, but ensure you get the best from this person in that intake meeting. Like, it sets the tone for the successful hire. You want to be able to spot the bias of the hiring manager before you even go ahead. I'll give you an example. We're trying to hire a role, and somebody was telling me he wants people who speak English. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then he's saying, well, because there are situations where people speak English, but you really don't know what English. I'm like, are you referring to people's accents? And then he was like, oh, no. I'm like, well, because if you're referring to people's accents, then I have to probably take this further. And then we probably need to have you take some trainings on biases and all that. And then he quickly dropped it. So you have to sense all those before you even leave to start hiring for those roles. And of course, there are also things that people say in terms of skills expectation. Don't forget that one of the things you are discussing in that meeting is how much this person is looking at paying. And of course, you have broader knowledge as to the payment scale for your business for certain levels of roles. So you know how much this role is. And this person has come with this endless expectation. I was hiring one accounting related role sometime, and the hiring manager said he wanted somebody that had ACCA. This was in Nigeria, by the way. He wanted somebody that had ACCA. I'm like, that's fine. Expectations defined, technical skills defined, and I know what his budget is. So I went into the market, getting the best people with all of those certifications and inviting them over for him to have a chat. And then when he had met so many people, and he found out that the people he's looking for, he cannot afford them. So one of the things you never want to be guilty of as a TA person is not bringing the best people. Don't let any hiring manager's expectation shut down your ability to do your work. Bring the best people. Now let them have a discussion. Then have a discussion as to how much are you willing to pay. So if it's obvious that yes, you have the best people, but here budget is a challenge, then it's not on you, right? It's not on you. Then you start having discussions as to, so which of the expectations can we tone down? I'll give you an example. That guy who wanted an ACCA person eventually settled for somebody who's in a level 2 in the ACCA process, and the guy got hired in 6 months after he got his ACCA, but they were able to get him cheaper before he got the certification, right? So yes, the the intake meetings could make or mar your success, because, at the end of the day, the person you're hiring is not working with you. They are working with this hiring manager. And you also don't want to create a terrible experience for the person you're hiring. So as much as you want the candidate to be happy, you want the hiring manager to be happy. So as the subject matter expert on this process, you also want to be sure that you are giving a good start on both ends. So you don't want to push people on them, insist that this person is perfect, or say, no, you don't insist. If you've taken any of the HR, I think SPHRI, one of the key things you would learn in SPHRI is that at the end of the day, the person who manages the entire relationship, creates the experience, or determines the performance, whatever, of the person you're hiring, is the hiring manager, because that's who they work with every time. That's who they see the organization through. If people are going to conclude that the organization is certain way, they're going to be measuring that from the lens of what they perceive their hiring managers to be. Yeah. So have great first intake meetings. If it's possible, make it face-to-face. We're running out of time. I need to move faster. Okay. 1 second, I'll just rush through this. Yes, so show off your expertise as the subject matter expert here. Like, don't make recommendations until you are fully aware of what the market is. Don't make recommendations until you've done like a profile research. You've seen 20 people with key talents. You saw what ran through those profiles, what were prominent. It kind of gives you an idea of people in the markets within your region. And of course, LinkedIn recruiters account is golden. If your company can invest in it, it's great, because it tells you how many people within your region who has certain skill sets, who has certain talents. It just gives you an idea ahead of time if it's possible to find somebody within that region for the role you're hiring point, right? Leverage on technology. Gone are the days where they say you need 6 seconds or whatever to read through a resume. I mean, you have 1,000 people who have applied to a role. It's manual. To look at them one after the that's manual. Use technology. Like the Boolean search can scale through all and tell you how many people are likely or have potential to be selected, and then you have lesser time to spend looking at those, right? Reviewing all resumes should be a last resort and not what you do every day. It makes the job entirely boring and just laborious, and you don't want to do that. Yes, TA is a sales job. I mean, trust me, it's a sales job. Your customers are the hiring managers and the candidates are the products. So you have to make both happy on both ends. I think I said that earlier. So before you complain about the lack of sales, make sure that you are presenting a good product, and you don't want to be guilty of not presenting the right people. Make sure you're presenting the right candidates, and then you can have a discussion as to why they fit or not. If you're into talent acquisition, there's a movie I recommend that you watch. It's called A Family Man. I watched it on Netflix, so it's probably on Netflix, and it shows the life of a recruiter. I mean, okay, let me say this. Gone are the days where you put 20 resumes together and say, oh, these people look like they are good for you, and send it to the hiring manager, helping them. You are putting the power in their hands. You are helping them make the decision. You are allowing them make the decision about that candidate ahead of time, when you've not interjected that decision by showing them what is golden about every profile. So the work is not just finding the right people, it's selling those people to whoever you're presenting them to. So as you have an intake meeting, you should also have a profile meeting where you say, oh, spreadsheets, these are the people I'm sending to you. This is what is critical about this person. This is why they are more unique than this other person. And it also reduces their time as the manager, because they're like, oh yeah, brilliant, oh fantastic. And if you are lost, about like this person who wants 2 million things but is unaware, is unsure. If you are lost about what they need or what they need to do, before you do all the work, put together like 5 or 10 resumes that you think maybe what they are looking for, and send it to them saying, this is not, I'm not sending you candidates yet, but I'm helping you to have an idea of what you're looking for. So which of this speaks to you? Which of this is a total no? And when they say, oh yes, I like this, I like this, I like this, find out what's prevalent in those profiles, and then of course it gives you a light as to where to dig better as you go. Now, data is your friend. I'll talk more about data. You cannot not have data as you do your talent acquisition job, because that's some business, that's the only way to communicate value, and sometimes that's what the business understands. Okay. Since I'll talk more about data, I'll move on. The other one is onboarding. I mean, great experience from the start. Now, we said it earlier that you cannot do talent acquisition in isolation. You have to do talent acquisition in view of all of the other talent management process. So onboarding is so crucial. It's so key. I know for very large organizations, like roles are so specialized that once you hand a candidate over, it may no longer be within your circle or within your view what happens to that candidate going forward. But if you're in a position to be involved in the onboarding process, then give them a great experience. I mean, when I think about the onboarding experiences I've had, oh boy, I give a second thought sometimes before letting go, because it speaks to the culture of that business. It speaks to how excited they are, how grateful they are to have you joining the team, or to have you joining the business. So that's very, it's just a great experience for any candidate to have. And companies have gone over and above. I mean, especially during the pandemic, I know there were some organizations that were hiring fresh grads for graduate programs. And before they even start the job, they send personal welcome notes, send all manner of gifts, send all manner. Before they receive their work tool, they receive a sense of welcoming from the business. And that says a lot to a candidate. It says a lot on what experience you create for that candidate. Now let's talk about data. This is very important for a TA person. Now I know the usual thoughts around data is can everyone see this? I know the letters are a bit tiny, but I hope you can see them. I'll walk you through. Anyways, so gone are the days where we just say, okay, what data do we need? How many people apply for this role? How many people did we interview? And move on. No, you have to be more strategic about the data you collect. One, efficiency. You want to see what resources were allocated, what time resources were allocated, and what was the cost, especially if they were executive positions and you had to meet them in certain places. Maybe you paid for dinner, you paid for drinks. What are all of those costs involved? Of course, that's efficiency is about process optimization, right? You want to be sure that the amount of money that was spent acquiring a talent does not outweigh the benefit of the talents. That's the whole essence of efficiency, right? But you have to measure all the costs, all your hiring costs. That's very important. So of course, the hiring volume, vacancies, time to fill, source of hires, external benchmarks, all of these are very, very important. Now, okay, this may sound like big, giant. If you're working on data, start small. Start small as to efficiency, like how long does it take to fill a particular position. It speaks to man hours. How long time does it take to review the resume? Because if you are going to request for technology, you want to speak to timing. Like how long does it take to execute that's time to fill. If you're going to request for anything, you want to speak with data and not just passion. So that's the essence of efficiency. How efficient is your processes? The other one is how effective. What are the talent outcomes for all the money that we have spent to put our maybe our job vacancies on maybe Jobberman or whatever? what were the quality of candidates that came through that? How effective was the money we spend there? So that speaks to the quality of candidates and hires. I'll shock you. Just looking at data, sometimes you will find out that your best candidates may not come from your most expensive source. And it just, and sometimes you find out that certain sources are best for certain roles. And what money should we put on what source? It should be the amount of roles we hire from that source in comparison to the quality of candidates that comes from there. So all of these things helps you to just make a decision on how you expend as a business. So of course, there's the quality of the candidates, the quality of the hire, the candidates pool depth. Like, it's not just numbers. In effectiveness, it's not just, yes, 200 people apply in the first 10 minutes. Of all the 200 people, how many were shortlisted for an interview? It speaks to quality, right? And of course, there's the speed to competency. It's not just how many, how fast, but how great and how much quality do those of how much quality of candidates come from those sources. Now, impact, after we have spent all this money from these sources, acquired these candidates, what was the impact on the business? That's why I say the success of TA is not just about hiring, recruitment and sourcing. It's about it's dependent on the entire talent management process, because business impact is dependent on what are the results from your performance management uh, strategies. What were the results, especially for certain candidates that were hired within this time frame, or for certain departments, or within this, or for certain roles? That tells you the business outcome, right? The TA influence on business outcome determines the critical role hiring, staffing versus requirements, net hires, workforce requirement planning, TA business results. All of this are impact on the business. I mentioned earlier when they invite HR to the table for a strategy that the business has for 2021, and you are wondering, what is HR doing there? Because if you need people to fill in to carry out those roles or to do that work, HR needs to know, so they can have the workforce planning process in place by the time all of that is implemented. So data helps you to do that. It just also helps you to know if, for instance, your business is acquiring another business in a particular location, would you not have questions about workforce plan? Like, would we have the candidates in there? Data tells you. Data tells you, right? Now, you also look, the infrastructures are basically what can you use, what tools can you use in getting all of this. There's dashboard visualization. Now, dashboard can be a little tricky, like it's just like a one-pager telling everybody the story that they need to know through that hiring process. So it's just nice, fancy, neat, clean, clear for people to make decisions, because of course executives don't have all the time to be reading all your descriptive analysis and all that. They want to see the numbers, how many people we've hired so far, what's been the impact on the business, how effective was the processes we used, and how much cost did we save. Okay. And of course you have and trust me, these things do not need to be manual. If you have the right how do I put it, HR information systems, if you have the right recruitment tools, they don't have to, by the click of a button, you have all this data if you have the right tools. But if you don't, Excel is your friend, basically. Excel is your friend. Just have a spreadsheet that gives you all the numbers, put in the graphs on PowerPoint, you're good to go. And just put them together in one pager, you're good to go. Okay, now those data also could be descriptive. When it's internal TA data, could be descriptive, that is what is occurring, how much, how long, also related to the efficiency, the time to fill, the source of hire, just telling the story of everything. It could be relative, how well we're performing and through that process. That's speaking to the effectiveness. And it could be analytic, like what's the relationship? How long did it take us the last time to hire for certain roles in comparison to how long it took us this time? All of that is speaking to the efficiency of your processes, right? Because that shows you the the relationship, the graph, to say we're getting better here, or we hired more men than women, or we spent less money now than. So just analytic, telling the story of the changes. And of course, that's the best way to also communicate success, right? And predictive, what would the future look like? I was making an example as to predictive analysis. We're going into certain markets. What's are we sure we're going to be able to get the right talent? Predictive analysis will tell you that based on the activity we did when we're able to say it will take us the same amount of time to do this or do that. So everyone that came into the HR because they want to tell the story, or just because they thought is something that maths people don't do, that's why they go to HR. That's not true anymore. I mean, you need all the analytical skills to be efficient as a talent acquisition person. Okay. If you have any question about this, just put them in the chat. I'll answer those as well. Okay. So let's talk about some recruitment trends. Trying to wrap up. Recruitment trends. Yes, recruitment marketing. This could be related to platforms. I told you that you want to be sure. For instance, a new platform came in. You don't want to jump in because it's new. But suddenly, in after 2 weeks, they have 1 million profiles. Yes, of course, you want to be a player in that field because they have a lot of people. Okay, I see that question. How does ATS affect TA decisions? Okay, I'll tackle that. Okay, so recruitment marketing is basically ensuring that people know the job is available when it's available. And it's a skill on its own. It goes into what kind of job descriptions you build. I mean, I love writing job descriptions, not just because I want to tell you we need this skill, we need that skill. No, I want to tell a story around it, a story around the business, a story around the role, what every day we look like on the job, the role that that particular position plays within our business, how important. I love, and it all feeds into your recruitment marketing. You don't just want to put it out there. You want to be sure that the right people see it and they are able to understand the language of it, right? The other trend is mobile recruitment. Like people are faster on the phone. So text messages is another easy thing for people to do. I mean, I've seen scenarios where people are requested, they're sent a survey on the phone, and then you're just supposed to do 2-3 click buttons on a text message and you've responded. Those are trends that are happening. And of course, it speaks to speed, it speaks to candidate experience, and it speaks to effectiveness, as well, of your processes. Employee referrals, yes, we spoke about this earlier, letting your people tell the story of the job, getting them in and allowing their inputs in the hiring process. There's technology, yes, we spoke about that. They're investing in lots and lots of technology. Virtual reality, yes. Okay, so some of the, I don't know if you've had those interview experiences where the first instance is not to ask you to fill a form. You receive a link where virtually you're asked to record your responses to certain questions, and sometimes it's robots. Like, for instance, if you call Apple, it's going to be a robotic response telling you, I can help you, do this and that, and you're only speaking to a physical person when the technology is unable to resolve your queries. And of course, it saves time as well, and it creates candidate experience as well. So those are very important things to win at in the talent management. Then there's rehires. I know companies have strong policies. In fact, there are certain benefit structures to getting people back. I mean, very good people who leave the business. For instance, there are companies who have laws around profit sharing, that if you work with a business for a certain number of years, by your 15th birthday or 10th birthday, there's a particular benefit you are supposed to get. But if you leave the business at certain time before that date, you forfeit certain benefits. And some people will say, okay, if you leave and then you come back, within this time frame, you still qualify to get those benefits. So all of that are strategies for rehires. Like, you make people think back as to what they are losing out on, and not letting them, because you invest a lot in candidates. Like, you invest a lot. People come in, develop skills. You don't want them to go. You want to keep them. So keeping a profile, a healthy pipeline of people who have left, and looking out. Somebody worked in Canadian Tire before, or sorry, in a particular business before, and you saw that on the resume. Of course, it's so easy to do background check. Just go back to whoever they worked with and say, oh, that was a fantastic person. It makes the job easier. So look out for rehires, especially when they're great talents. And of course, recruitment trends also cover social media. Like, wow, things people do with brands on LinkedIn is just mind blowing. It's just mind blowing. And of course, it's not just LinkedIn. I said it earlier, there are tons of candidates on Twitter, especially tech candidates. There are tons of them on Twitter and so many other social media platforms. So you want to explore. Now, if you're using social media platforms, you must be careful that your message is the same across all platforms. So it's better you're not there than to be there and messing it up or having outdated information. Ensure if you're there, you're monitoring the information and taking advantage of the platform. There's also proactive hiring, like a recruiter is hiring even when they are having coffee chats. I mean, you have to be proactive, like have your own built pipeline to know that when I need a talent, I've spoken to one before, or that you're always available to chat, always available to interact, because you know that people are open to coming into your business. Then there's distant hire. This is a huge trend. Like, your talent does not have to live in the same city where your business is. There's the world is now so flat, and with the new event of and the new with a higher level of acceptance for remote work right now, your talent doesn't have to be where you live. Distant hire is so well received and a welcome initiative in the TA world. Like, do they have the talent? Can they do the job? And that's it. Okay, but of course you have to keep in mind if there's going to be any tax related issue that will affect your business or stuff by virtue of hiring that person, if it's going to have any impact on the business, because of course there are tax issues if your people are working in another country and then your company is assumed to have a footing there. There may be laws, there may be things that cover that. But if you have all that fronts covered, then of course, why can't you hire from a distance? Okay. How do you use these trends to your advantage? One, network, because the trends are buzzing. People are all out talking about it. Network with these people, connect with them, just build and maintain relationships that are beneficial. Because if you're looking for people and you can't find them, your network may have a good bouquet of pipeline that they can share. So of course, network. Then there's social media. I encourage talent acquisition people, you need a healthy profile online. You don't just want to be yes, it's good to you have to separate your corporate life from your political life or your religious perspectives, or you have to use your platforms right, because you want people to know you for what they need to know you for per time. So if you're a recruiter, you have a LinkedIn profile, that's not your best place to talk about your political beliefs or what. Make it corporate, because you're representing the brand. Right now, be accessible even when you're not hiring. Like I was saying about one of the trends, like you need to always be available. Write some interesting thing, like always hiring, define your industry, define so that your people can come to you. So be accessible. Someone sent you an email, you don't have that role, you have the time to chat, because you never know when you're going to need that candidate, right? Be technologically aware, know the tools, because you as the subject matter expert in that area, you don't want people to come up with ideas and for you to you want to be able to say yes or no and why. That's what I mean. So when you're technologically aware, you know what's the next thing, why you should have it, why not. Do we need to build something from ground? Do we need to buy off the shelf? All of that. If you are aware of the technology and of your processes, you can make the right recommendation, right? Oh, sorry, I think I moved. Okay. And I'll find out what's working or broken. You cannot always follow all the trends. That's expensive, really. And you don't want to be the person who's increasing the overhead of your business. You want to be the person who's operationally effective. And that's what you sell all the time. Yes, where our processes are effective. We are aware of the operations. We are efficiency is at the forefront of everything we do. So you don't want to be the person who is saying, this there's now Workday, let's go. Oh, there's now Talio, let's go. There's now SAP, let's go. You want to be sure that you're not just following the trends. You're making the best decision for your business, right? And that, of course, what's working or broken is a good guide to that. I think this is my final slide. So what can you change now? What can you do now? So the first one is data. Like I said earlier, that it doesn't have to be entirely heavy at the beginning, because the more information you have, the more data you have to project. But you can always start with data, like just saying this is the amount of roles that are open in the company, this is how long it took to fill this certain role, and by posting the job here, this is the amount of traffic we have, this is the best source for us because this happened and that happened, this is the amount of money we spent, just start with data. I mean, we were making a joke in my team some time ago, and then we were talking about a particular data that was presented to the business for a certain decision. And the first person that executive asked was, did you say this is HR? Because they could not relate to the fact that that amount of data was presented from an HR process. It is always believed that HR is all descriptive and not analytics. No, you have to bring in the analytics to the business. Okay, just if and that's what I said here, that if you have an answer to the question, where do our best talent come from, anyone will listen to you. That's the truth. Anyone will listen, because you've kind of become the person that has the answer to where do we find the best people question, which is what's top most on the mind of most CEOs. Okay. The quality of candidates, yeah, time to fill is important, but the worst thing to be accused of is the bad quality of candidates, right? Even if, like I said it earlier, even if it's your pool is looking expensive, even if it's looking like they live far away, you can always think around the solutions, but you want to get having the right candidate right. It's just important, right? And of course, there's process development. If you start optimizing your process now, I mean, it's just an easy way to win with talent acquisition. I'll give you an example. Everybody in your team, in a TA team, are responding to hiring managers, they are responding to candidates, but your communication language is not uniform, right? You're not saying the same thing. And you want to have a uniformed communication, maybe not just because you're trying to control the language, but you are trying to make sure that the language is elevated and the error is limited and the responses are faster, right? Just somebody, so all of that you can build into process development to say, we have a document defined for every hiring manager that wants to fill a role. And then you say every time they reach out to you, you have something to send, something that first says, if you need education on this, click this link. If you need some guide as to how to click this link. If that's process, that's defining the process. It helps to make your whole thing more elevated, efficient, of course, and of course effective, because the experience even for the hiring manager will be greater, right? So develop your processes around communication, around timeline. What do we do when? How long do we post the position for? Once we've posted the position, what do we do next? When should we interfere with the candidates? What is our policy around giving feedback to candidates? If we give feedback, what kind of feedback do we give? How long should it be before we get back to them? All of those, just define it. Define your because you don't want to retrain people every time somebody new join. You want to be say, this is the process and this is what we do. And then onboarding is even easier and quicker because you have there's no fix it as we go. Everything is smooth and efficient. And of course, personal style is good, but the recruitment process is important to ensure efficiency. So yes, you need to have the process defined. And of course, if you offer to kickstart the process today, I mean, somebody will smile at you to say, oh, yes, you have come to fix it. Okay. Now, what more can you do with technology that the technology that we currently like? Okay, so we were saying technology is a huge trend. Yes, but sometimes we have tools and people don't know what they use that tool for. Like, what can you do? I'll give you an example. We had a tool sometime and I wanted to, I wanted to do something on it. I was just thinking like, how can I do this more efficiently? Like, I don't want to spend this amount of time. I wanted to do something and I was wondering, can I do this on this particular tool? And then I was just chatting with someone and was like, yes, you can. In 2 seconds, it was all done, man. If there's someone who can look at every technology you have and say this and this and this are the things you can do more, because we cannot just get, if you're trained by somebody who has only used 10% of the tool, you kind of feel 10% of the tool is what is available, right? So you want to dig deeper to say, be like the SME for it, for your HR information system. The person that has used it extensively knows what more, and let them come with questions to you. You start winning from there. Like, it's just easy because you have the answers. Okay. And that's it. We have come to the end of the session. Thank you to everyone for staying to the end, and for everyone who joined midway. Thank you. So Jide, do we go ahead with the questions now?
Thank you very much, Bosu. That was a very detailed and insightful session.
Thank you.
Yes, so I see we have 3 questions here already. I don't know whether you've addressed some of them with your presentation.
Okay, I'll look at them and then I'll talk about them as well. So there was one question, sorry, 1 second. There was one question that came in the chat. I just want to be sure I didn't miss out on that. So I'll start with that. Okay, I see it now. So that question was from Judith. It says, how does applicant tracking systems affect TA decisions? Yes, it does affect the TA decisions. Like I said, if you have 1,000 people applying to a role, looking at all those resumes is tough, right? You don't want to do that. If you put in an applicant tracking system to say, sift through all these resume using these pointers or these skills or certain things, just put in those parameters, that could search through all of the resumes for you and give you just the top 10 or top 20 people that you need. And you can then review those ones critically. So it affects your decision as to who do you shortlist first. So that's the key thing that applicant tracking systems helps you to do. So it helps you to make your shortlist faster by not having to look at all those resumes, right? Oh, thank you, Sam. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Obaseki. Thank you. I'll go to the next question. So this one is from Anonymous. It says, what best strategy can be used to curtail discrepancies in C&B between foreign and local employees? I don't know what C&B is. Can someone help me? E.g., where staff are not comfortable with huge remuneration differences for team members. Cost and benefit. Okay, I got it. Okay, so what best strategy can be used to curtail discrepancies in cost and foreign and local discrepancies? Do I understand that? Well, for foreign and local employees, the first thing you should think of course, there's cost of living cost of living analysis that goes into place before you determine what is paid in what country and the other. And even though I'll give you plain example, somebody who's living maybe abroad and is earning, say, like $50,000, you convert it into Nigerian money. It sounds like, ooh, big money. The truth is that's the least amount anybody can earn is actually seriously below wage line, because the life they need to live here is more expensive than what you would, and the amount of money you would need to live in Nigeria. So some of those things are what constitutes it. And so it may not be a discrepancy, it's just a policy thing. it's a compensation thing, like what's the compensation policy for? And you can't have a wage line that is the same across all countries, right? You just need a wage line that is relevant to each country and apply those to that country. And that's dependent of prevailing wages in that place, what cost of living in that place. And of course, it's dependent on your policy as a company to either lead or lag in the compensation structure, right? So where staff are not comfortable with huge remuneration differences for team members, in the first place, everything that everybody, seriously, the pay of everyone is everyone's responsibility. You are paid what you negotiated, right? It's not your business if you come in tomorrow and somebody in your team earns higher than you. Yes, you'll be unhappy as a person. It's the role of the manager to manage that unhappiness, to say, well, this person has been there longer. The circumstances surrounding the hire of this person required us to negotiate higher, or just mitigate those things. But the truth is, you came in on a wage that you negotiated for. So of course, there's more opportunity, like salaries may be reviewed annually, and you can speak to performances. Maybe for a 10% increase in performance, you get this more. You can speak around this, but where there's remuneration differences, it's not entirely the fault, because you could have negotiated high. But if you accepted that pay and you're working on that pay, then the company policies for compensation kicks in, and they can't do more than what's they can't single you out of the policy, right? The next one, can you please repeat examples of the technological solutions for job application? Technological solutions. Okay, so I was saying that technological solutions are like, how do we bring technology into the talent acquisition process to achieve more efficiency, that is less time. So the first thing is, of course, defining your processes. When you have your processes defined, it helps to reduce the amount of time you spend. Now, investing in technology, I'll give you an example. For high volume roles where you have a lot of candidates in, you don't want to have your people conduct phone interviews or interview too many people. You can have maybe virtual technology where, for example, you have it could be text message, like you send a couple of questions to people and they feel. It could just be increasing qualifying questions into your job postings. For instance, if your job posting had questions like, do you have the capability to work in this country? And somebody checks no to that, they are automatically sifted out of the hiring process. So if you have that in your job posting, it helps you to reduce the number of candidates. And then when eventually people apply, like I spoke about the Boolean search, like using technology to reduce the number of people, to shortlist, using technology to shortlist the number of people, using technology in the screening process by maybe asking them to complete a video interview, so you don't interact with people directly. And of course, using technology to provide feedback, like these 100 people have not been shortlisted, you can send a mass email to say. So all through the process, there's technology that can be used to make all of the processes more efficient. I hope that answered your question. Right, Peter, it says, how best can a candidate be assessed for culture fit? Is there a perfect way to ascertain that a candidate is culturally fit? Okay, so that, like I was saying, when you're designing a job description, there's technical skills that's required, like saying, yes, this person is coming to do a programmer analyst role. They must be able to use SQL, they must be able to use C#, all of that. Like those are technology requirements. They are easy to define. But aside the technology requirements, and you start having things like this person must be able to work with a team. This person must be able to host a conversation with a client. All of that are soft skills that are required for that role. When those soft skills are required, you test for them in the interview process. Now, I said the interview process requires you to have the science skill as well as the art skill. The science skill is when you say, based on all of this criteria that we've defined, this guy checks the boxes. The art skill is You are a representation of your business. You are portraying the culture of warmth, of communication, of efficiency in terms of you arrived early, this person did not. Timeliness is one of the cultural values of your business. It shows they are not cultural. Now, they are not culturally displaying your values. One of your values is warmth. Like, I mean, you go into interviews, have conversations, and you leave. Even when they say no, you end up liking the people that interviewed you. That's telling you that maybe culturally it's warm, and some people come in and they are unable to smile, they are unable to respond to your jokes, they are unable to connect. All of that, you wonder if they're a fit. And then there's what we call allowing people to tell their stories in the hiring process. Every story that is told by a candidate is a reflection of their personality, and then that tells you if that fits into your culture or not. A good example is bias. So imagine a candidate came in and was describing the work and says, I have this colleague who is maybe who's in oops, can't think of a word that is not biased. Okay, a particular colleague I work with who is from this certain region, and as you know, everybody from that region has this particular kind of way that they behave. That is a bias statement. And if you have a cultural policy that has zero tolerance for bias, it tells you immediately this is not it. Like, there are things you cannot pass on, things you cannot move on with, because you know that that is entirely a no to your culture. Okay, the next question is from Juliet. Please, is there any tool you can share to have assessment of existing skill sets so as to identify the skill gaps? Okay, so of course there are technical tools that you can use, but I'm always of the opinion of before you ask for money as from the business, before you request the business to bring money for a tool, what can you do? So just building an Excel sheet, or except if you have a huge workforce, that may be laborious. But if it's the workforce is not too large, what you need to know is, what are we looking for in those skill sets? You have the name of everybody, you have the department they work into, and based on all the employee profile you have, you are able to say this person, for academic qualifications, this is what they have. For experiences, this is what they have. Just something that shows you the journey of everyone, what skills they've developed over time, what roles they've developed over time, and where they are likely to be. Okay, that's one. The other one is assessing skill sets departmentally. Like you have this department structured in a certain way, and you know that this department is going to take up a larger project soon, and you're wondering, for that project, we need this person, and this person looks like the second best, but they don't have this particular skill. It tells you they have that gap, and you can begin to invest in that gap while preparing that candidate for that position in the future. So it's basically skill assessment is, where are we going? Where are we? Where are we? Where are we going? What do we need to get there? That answers your skill gap question. Basically. Okay. The next question. If you would want me to clarify further, Juliet, just raise it again. But I think basically that's for skill set assessment, is basically knowing what you need to do, what you have, and how you can get what you have to where you need to be, basically. So the last question was from Anonymous. It says, apart from LinkedIn and Twitter, which other platforms would you recommend to source candidates? The truth is, I cannot speak extensively as to the Nigerian market so much more, but from my environment, there's so many other platforms. Like there's Indeed, there's Monster, there's so many other platforms that you can use. But of course, just Google a way to know what other platforms is prevalent in your environment and how you can maximize those. But like I said, find a cluster where your talent is. I have found a cluster. I'd gone to join a Facebook group before because I found a cluster for the talent I was looking for in that group, and I joined. So it's basically finding where the works of the people you're looking for are and then following them there. Okay, I think I answered those questions.
Thank you very much, Basu. Fantastic responses. You've
Thank
answered all the questions so far, except there are more questions coming in. Some of the feedback here has been wonderful. I don't know if you've seen them. Let me just read out some of them.
Okay, great.
So Henry says, thanks, Basu, for this fantastic
Thank you.
session. Adiola says, fantastic session, Basu. This was very engaging, easy to follow, and insightful. Thank you for your time. Great work as usual, Adonam.
Thank you.
Adedoye says, thank you, Adonam Consulting, for putting this together. Special thanks to our anchor Manjide. Thank you. So lots of feedback. Please, there's still time. You can still send in your questions. Someone asked on YouTube how they can contact you. So I'll just say you can connect with her on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to reach her. And
absolutely, yeah. LinkedIn would be great. Just before we wrap up, can I say something about the perfect talent myth?
okay.
Yes.
We're not wrapping up, please, but go ahead.
Okay, pardon me. Okay, so keep the questions coming if you have more questions. Thank you for your comments about the questions. That's great. Keep the questions coming. We're still here, like Jide said. Right, so I was going to talk about the talent myth, the perfect talent myth. Yes, it's a myth, but that it's not the place of the talent acquisition person to say there's having a perfect talent is a myth. No, that's not what you communicate. What you communicate is a deep understanding of the need of this person, the deep understanding of how best this role, like what value does this position bring to the business. If you understand what value they bring, it helps you to also have form an opinion about um, the perfect skill set that this person needs to bring on board to succeed on that role. So you're not, yes, it's not necessarily saying this person is perfect because there's no human being that is perfect, but we're saying bringing the best person on the role who has the right skill set and at the right time. That's the goal. So yes, we're not saying they don't have biases or that it's a myth that there could be a shortcoming. Yes, there could be a shortcoming. There are things you can pass on, but the role of the talent acquisition person is to bring the most qualified person, the most qualified person on the job, having the right expectation, having the right cultures that will come in with that will fit into your culture perfectly. So yes, all of that is in place. So don't ever forget that this is you're bringing somebody in that you don't know. So it's a risk, but you have to do all that you can to mitigate the risk. That's our job. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So I just launched a poll. You can see it pop up on your screen now if you're on Zoom. So please kindly vote. Let's have your responses. So as you know, Adulam Consulting is a global partner for the Human Resource Certification Institute in the USA. So we prepare HR professionals to sit and pass their certification exams for various certifications depending on your experience levels. So there's a poll up here. There are two questions. How many years of HR experience do you have? Three options: 0 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 and above 5. So your level of experience basically determines which of these certifications is right for you. So please quickly respond to that poll, and then just to chip in, as I was saying, part of our services is that we hold exam preparatory classes for this certification exam. So wherever you are, thank God for technology, we have virtual classes and you can join any of our virtual classes. coming up in September for these certifications: APHRI, PHRI, SPHRI, GPHR. So quickly, I just want to mention a few things about the certifications. So APHRI is for those without any HR experience, just looking to launch their career. That's the right certification for you. For those with 2 years experience, the PHRI, that's the Professional and Human Resource certification. That's the right one for you. And then for those with above 5 years, you should go for the SPHRI. GPHR is for those with at least 3 years, but especially for those with some global experience. So maybe you oversee the HR function across 2 or more countries. As an attendee at this conference and as a participant here, there are discounts for the virtual classes next month if you would like to join that. I'll be sharing a link in the chat session in a few moments, just waiting for more responses to come on the poll, and then we can see, I can send that in. So there's a 15% discount on all our course fees if you're joining the classes in September. But additionally, for those who signed up for the tHRive benefits, that's those who pay the fee for the to get all the other benefits that we announced at the beginning of this program. So whether you're paying for recertification or you're paying for just to get a certificate of attendance and get access to the replays and all those benefits, you get a 40% discount instead of a 15% discount. So if you partake of that tHRive benefits, you get 40%. But if you don't, you can just get straight 15% for any of our HRCI exam prep classes. So for more information, you can reach out to us. Our email address, info@adonamconsulting.com, or reach us via any of our social media platform. I'll be happy to provide more information. So I can see a lot of us are experienced there, over 5 years experience. So you should be looking to take the Senior Professional in Human Resource International certification. So that's that. For more information, you can contact us. I'll send in the link later on. I think I should just end the poll here. Right. Thank you for your responses. 88% says yes, they want a global certification. So what this global certification does is it validates your experience, and then again, it lets you attain global relevance. For example, Bosu, which is a member of our faculty, she has the SPHR and the GPHR certification. I'm sure when she relocated to Canada, it was just smooth because she had that global perspective already. So that helps in that sense. So looking forward to the 23 people who said they're interested. Reach out to us. I'll share the link shortly. You can pre-register there for those classes in September. If you're outside Nigeria, you might see the fees in Naira, but you can reach out to us for the conversion in dollars. It's basically between $125 and $175 for the virtual classes. So it's pretty affordable. So thank you very much for participating in the poll. I think there's a question here. So let's quickly take that before we call it a day. It's been a long weekend. Thank you all for staying to the end. I'll be sharing the attendance code shortly. I know a lot of you are waiting for that, but before that, let's just take this final question. So can someone just pay to, okay, I think that question is for me. So can someone just pay to write any of these exams without going through? Well, I wouldn't say it's advisable because while going to an exam you are not prepared for, but yes, you can do that by all means. If you think your experience is fine, even those with good experience still need preparation, but that's really up to you. So yes, you can, but not advisable. Right. Okay, any more questions for Bosun? So we can, I know it's pretty early at your end, maybe just getting to noon, so we can let you go. You
Yes,
should
and I
be
haven't
just
had
having this
breakfast. So yes, let me go.
Yes. So we can quickly let Bosun go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been an exciting time. I do wish you all the best. I hope I meet you again when you register for those classes. And then, of course, we can share more insights, talk definitely more about trends. And of course, I wish you all the very best. Thank you. Right. Bye, Jide. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much, Bosun.
Right.
Yes,
Take
I
care.
think I can let you go. Thank you for the insights you shared. This session was fantastic. From the feedback, I know you can see them.
Yes, I do. And thank you for all those feedback. That's so kind of you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adebola, Bosuins Hanson. Thank you. Thank you. Really grateful.
Great, great. Thank you very much. We'll talk later. Let me let you go.
Yeah, bye.
Okay, so for those who would love to join our classes in September, I've sent the link to register for those classes. Those fees are not the discounted fees, so any fee you see on that form, just take it 15% off, or if you've paid for the Thrive benefits, take 40% off. That means that's what you'll be paying for the preparatory classes. Right. But just fill the form and then we'll reach out to you. Thank you very much. Okay, so please take note of the attendance code for this session. For those who would want the Thrive benefits at the end of this program. This is our last session for this weekend. I hope you'll be joining us next weekend for the final weekend in this virtual conference. We have 6 more sessions to go, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 9 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m. on each day, West African times. So please plan your schedule around that next weekend. We would love to have you all here. And please invite your friends. Let's have a great end to the virtual conference, yeah? So we'll be glad to have a fuller house next weekend. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us on our can send a mail to us info@adonamconsulting.com or reach out to us on any of the social media platforms you are active on. Okay, comment from YouTube from Asoro. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. Sorry about that. So you can reach out to us, like I said, about the exam. You can send an email to info@adonamconsulting.com or go to our website, adonamconsulting.com, and chat us up. There's a chat function on the website or any of the social media platform, Adonam Consulting on LinkedIn. If you're on Twitter, Adonam Consult. If you're on Instagram, Adonam Consulting as well. So you can reach us on any of those platforms, Facebook, and I think that's about it. So you can reach us on any of those platforms, and then we'll give you more details about the preparatory classes and the HRCI exams. Okay, in the absence of any other question, thank you all for joining. It's been an amazing learning experience this weekend. 6 fantastic sessions that we had. Looking forward to next weekend, the final weekend of this transformational HR program. Looking forward to seeing you all join again next weekend. for a great closing to this event. Have a great week ahead. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. Go out there and thrive. Thank you for joining. See you next weekend.